Good morning, middle one. I wish this year is so good for all of you. The science this year is so easy and it consists of 3 units. The first unit is talking about the matter and its construction. The second unit is talking about the energy. The third unit is talking about the diversity and adaptation in the living organisms. Okay, let's start by the first unit, which is the matter and its construction. Okay, the first lesson is talking about the matter and its characteristics. And like you know before, that everything around us is called matter. Anything. Like if you look around you, you can see the door, you can see window, you can see chair. Everything around us is called matter. And any matter has mass and volume. So what's mean by matter? The matter, it's anything that has mass and volume. Now, I need to know what's mean by mass. For example, if I hold a book, you can see the book is a little bit heavy, right? So, the question now is, from where did this mass come from? Absolutely, the mass of this book comes from the number of pages inside this book. So, the mass is defined as the amount of matter that the body contains, the amount of the matter in an object. So, I can define the mass by 2 ways. The first way is the amount of matter in an object, or by the second way, which is the amount of the matter that the body contains. And like you know before, that the measuring unit of the mass is a gram and kilogram. And there is abbreviation for kilogram and gram, kilogram by kg and gram by gm. So now I need what's mean by volume. For example, if I have a glass of water, okay? So the water is enclosed or occupied by this glass. So the volume is the space that occupied by the body. So the water is occupied by a space. This space is a glass. So I can define the volume, which is the space that is occupied by the body, or the space occupied by an object. So the object is like the body. Like you know before, that the measuring unit of the volume is the cubic centimeter, the cubic meter, or the liter. And we have abbreviation for the cubic meter, the cubic centimeter, and the liter. The cubic centimeter is cm power 3, and cubic meter is m power 3, and liter is capital letter L. Now you have to know that we have millions of matter in our life, and we need to differentiate between all of them. So we have 2 ways to differentiate between this matter. I can differentiate between them by only the shape. So this way is called by physical properties. Or I can differentiate between them by the structure inside them. So this way is called chemical properties. Okay, let's begin by the first one, which is the physical properties. The physical properties of the matter are seven properties. The first one is the color, taste, and smell. I can differentiate between the matter together by the color, taste, and smell, or I can differentiate between the matter by the density, or I can differentiate between the matter by melting point, or I can differentiate between the matter by boiling point, or I can differentiate between the matter by hardness, or I can differentiate between the matter by electric conduction, or by thermal conduction. Okay, let's talk about the color. For example, if I have 2 rings, the first ring is made of gold and the second ring is made of silver. So absolutely I can differentiate between the 2 rings by their colors. The gold is yellow shaped color, and the silver is silver. Okay, let's talk about the taste. For example, if I have 2 spoons, the first spoon consists of sugar and the second spoon consists of table salt. So definitely I can differentiate between sugar and table salt by tasting. And finally, smell. If you have 2 bottles, the first one consists or contain vinegar and the second bottle consists or contain perfume. So actually I can differentiate between the two bottles by smelling. So if I ask you, dots is a property that you can differentiate between the silver and gold, so it will be color. Dots is a property that you can differentiate between the sugar and table salt, so it will be taste. Dots is a property which you can differentiate between vinegar and perfume, so it will be smell. I'll ask you a question. If I ask you to hold two cubes in your hand, the two cubes have the same volume, 1 cubic centimeter and 1 cubic centimeter. The first one is made of wood and the second one is made of iron. So, did their masses is the same? No. Why? Why the masses is not the same? However, the volume of the two cubes is the same. Why? Because the amount of matter in the first cube is not like the amount of matter in the second cube. So this is the density. So I can say the mass of the two cubes is not the same. However, the volume is the same due to difference in density. Now I have activity for you to compare between the density of some substance and the density of the water. Okay? Here I have a basin or a container contain water, and I have different material, piece of wood, iron nail, drops of oil, metallic coin, ice cube, and a piece of cork. So, if you look at the container, you will see some substance sink in the water and some substance float on the water. So, why? The question is why some substance sink and some substance float? The answer for this question is the difference in the density. So the materials which have higher density than the density of the water will sink in the water, such as the iron nail and the metallic coin. And the materials which have lower density than the density of the water will float on its surface, such as wood, cork, ice, and drop of oil. And now you have to know that we have a rule of the density, a rule to solve a problem with it. Like you know before that we defined the density as the mass of unit volume. What's mean by of? Of means bare or divided. So the density is a mass divided by the volume. So the density D and a mass M and volume V. So I can define the density mass of unit volume or mass per unit volume or mass divided volume. Now you have to know that we have some live application on the density. The first one and the first information that the water is not used to put out or extinguish petrol fire. Why? Because the density of the petrol is less than the density of the water. So the petrol will float on the water surface and the water doesn't put out the petrol fire. The second one is the balloons filled with hydrogen or helium rise up in the air carrying flag during festivals. Why the balloon filled with hydrogen and helium rise up in air? Why? Because the density of the hydrogen or helium are less than the density of the air. So they will float and rise up in air. Now let's talk about the third physical property, which is the melting point. Okay, you know from the previous knowledge that any matter can exist in three states, which are solid, liquid, and gas. And I can change from any state to another. So, for example, I can change from solid state to liquid state by heating, and this process is called melting. So, what's mean by melting? Melting is a process which I can change from solid to liquid by heating. For example, I can change ice, which is solid, into water, which is liquid. For example, the ice temperature is negative 12 degrees Celsius. So in this case, the ice is in solid state. When I leave the ice in the air, the temperature will begin to be higher than negative 12, will be negative 10, negative 9, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, 0. What is the 0 degree Celsius? This 0 degree Celsius is called the melting point. What's meant by melting point? The melting point, it is the temperature at which the matter begin to change from solid to liquid. So in this example of the ice, that the ice begin to change into water at 0. So the melting point, it is the temperature at which the matter begin to change from solid to liquid. So if I ask you, what's meant by the melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius? This means that the ice begin to change into water at 0 degrees Celsius. And take care, you have to know that each substance has a definite melting point, which is used to differentiate between different substances. For example, the melting point of the wax is different from the melting point of the butter, for example. So I can differentiate between wax and butter by their melting point. So each substance has its own melting point. Now we can classify many matter according to their melting points into two categories. Substances have low melting points and substances have high melting points. The substances that have low melting points such as wax, butter and ice. And the substances that have high melting points such as iron, copper, aluminium and table salt. Now we have some live applications on the melting points. The first one is in the manufacturing or making of cooking pans or cooking pots. And the second live application in making alloys. Okay, let's talk about the first one which is in manufacturing or making of cooking pans or cooking pots. You have to know that the cooking pans or cooking pots are made up of aluminium or stainless steel alloy which doesn't rust. Why the cooking pans are made of aluminium or stainless steel? Why? Due to high melting point, because the aluminium and stainless steel have high melting points. Okay, now let's talk about the second one, which is alloys. To know what's meant by alloy, alloy is a mix. The word alloy is like a mix between different melting metals together. Like the workmen melt the metals, melt some solid metal to be easy shaped. For example, we have two alloy. The first alloy is called copper gold alloy. It's alloy made from copper and gold. The copper is mixed by the gold in liquid state and we leave them to be cold. This alloy, which is a copper gold alloy, is used in making jewels, in making rings, bracelets and so on. So the first alloy we have is called copper gold alloy and this used in making jewels. The second alloy is called nickel chrome alloy. It's alloy made of mixing the nickel metal and the chrome metal together, and this used in making heating coils. The heating coil is found in some kettles some kettle, the base of the kettle is made of heating coil, which is characterized by a very efficiency and very high speed to give you heat to let the water boil. So again, we have two alloys. The first alloy is called copper gold alloy, and this used in making jewels. And the second alloy is called nickel chrome alloy, and this used in making heating coils. Now let's talk about the fourth physical property, which is a boiling point. I can change from the liquid state to the gaseous state, and this is called boiling. So for example, I can change from water to water vapor by boiling. So what's mean by boiling? The boiling, it is a process by which the matter can be changed from liquid state to gas state by heating. For example, if I have a cooking pot filled with water and I will put it on the cooker and I will set up the fire and let the water boils. So normally the water temperature, for example, is 26. So after the fire begins, the water temperature begin to rise up from 26, 27, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 degrees Celsius. So at 100 degrees Celsius, the water began to change into water vapor. So the 100 degrees Celsius is called the boiling point. The point at which the water boils begin to change into another state, gas state. So what's mean by boiling point? It is the temperature at which the matter begin to change from solid state into gaseous state or gas state. So again, the boiling point. What's mean by boiling point? It is the temperature at which the matter begins to change from a liquid state to a gaseous state. So for example, if I ask you a question, what's meant by the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. This means that the water begins to change into water vapor at 100 degrees Celsius. And take care, you have to know that each substance has a definite boiling point, which is used to differentiate between different substances. For example, if I have oil and water, and I need to differentiate between them, so I will differentiate between them by their boiling points. Each one of them has a definite boiling point. So each substance has a definite boiling point which is used to differentiate between different substances. So now we have some live application of boiling point. The first one is the separation of the component of petroleum oil by heating. You have to know that we get the petroleum oil from under the ground of the seas as a one bulky liquid, one liquid substance. And we get this liquid and put it in something called oil distillation process. And you have to know, in this oil we have 100 components or many components in these oils. We can separate between them due to the difference in their boiling points. So we can separate the components of the petroleum oil by heating due to the difference in their boiling point. Now let's talk about the fifth physical property, which is hardness. You have to know that the solid substances are divided according to the hardness into three parts. The first one is solid substance that are soft at ordinary room temperature. So the first one is solid solid but soft. They are soft at room temperature, such as the rubber. And the second one, solid substance become soft but by heating to be easy shaped, like all the metals. All the metal can be soft to be easy shaped. And the third one, solid substance that can't be soft by heating, can't be softened by heating, such as coal and sulfur. If you heat them, they will be broken. And we have some live applications on hardness. The first one, that the screwdrivers are made of steel iron. Why? Because it's very hard. And the second one, the rods used in building concrete house are made up of iron, not copper. The roads that used in manufacturing of the building concrete are made of iron, not copper. Why? Because the hardness of iron is more than the hardness of the copper. Or you can say because the iron is harder than the copper. Now let's talk about the sixth physical property, which is the electric conduction. You have to know that substances can be classified according to electric conduction into two parts. Like you know from the previous years, good conductors of electricity and bad conductors of electricity. What's mean by good conductor of electricity? They are materials that allow electricity to flow. What's mean by bad conductor of electricity? They are materials that don't allow electricity to flow. And we have examples here and examples here. Example on good conductor of electricity, like all metals, iron, silver, copper, aluminium. And we have some solution, and this is the new part. We have some solution that are good conductor of electricity, like acidic solution, alkaline solution, and some salt solution. Take care, we have three solutions, all of them good conductor of electricity. The first one, acidic solution, good conductor of electricity. Alkaline solution, good conductor of electricity. Some salt solution, good conductor of electricity. So I may ask you a question in exam. Dots solution and dot solution are good conductor of electricity. So you will answer acidic solution and alkaline solution. Okay, the examples of bad conductor of electricity. All gases are bad conductor of electricity. And some solid substance are bad. Not all solid are bad. No, some solid substance are bad conductor of electricity, like sulfur, phosphorus, wood, and plastic, like you know before from the previous years. And take care, some solutions are bad conductor of electricity, like solution of hydrogen chloride in benzene. We have solution called hydrogen chloride in benzene. If we put the hydrogen chloride solution in benzene, this mixing will be bad conductor of electricity. Take care, this question is very important. If I ask you complete the solution of hydrogen chloride in dots is bad conductor of electricity. It will be in benzene. You have to know that we have another solution which is bad conductor of electricity, which is a sugary solution. So we will make a comparison between the solution which is a bad conductor of electricity and solution which is a good conductor of electricity. The solution which is bad conductor of electricity, the hydrogen chloride in benzene and sugary solution. And the solutions that are good conductor of electricity, which are the acidic solution, alkaline solution, and some salt solutions. We have here some live application on the electric conduction. The first one, the electric wires or the cables are made up of copper or aluminium and covered by plastic layer. Why? Because both of copper and aluminium are good conductor of electricity, which allow electricity to flow, while the plastic is bad conductor of electricity, which doesn't allow electricity to flow. The second application, that the electric screwdrivers are made up of steel iron, while their handles are made up of wood or plastic. Why? Because the steel iron is good conductor of electricity, but wood and plastic are bad conductor of electricity. And now let's talk about the seventh physical property, which is the thermal conduction. You have to know that the substance can be classified according to thermal conduction into two parts. The first one, good conductor of heat, and second one, bad conductors of heat. So the good conductors of heat, they are materials that allow heat to flow. But the bad conductor of heat, they are material that allow heat to flow. Example of good conductor of heat, all the metal are good conductor of heat, like the good conductor of electricity. They are iron, copper, and aluminium. The example on bad conductor of heat, all the non-metals such as wood and plastic. And here we have some live application of the thermal conduction. The first one, that the cooking pans are made up of aluminium. Why? Because aluminium is good conductor of heat and it has a high melting point. The second one, the handles of cooking pans are made up of wood or plastic. Why? Because wood and plastic are bad conductor of heat.